What's going on, guys, and welcome to this segment of Pinckney's Prospects. I'm Billy Pinckney, and today we are joined by Detroit Tigers prospect Andre Lipcius. Andre, thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, now during your college days, you played at the University of Tennessee. You want to talk about the experience that you had playing there?
Yeah. Tennessee, of course, it's an SEC school, so the competition itself was great. But Tennessee, as a college standpoint, was awesome. The environment in Knoxville is, very homey. They kind of embrace you, especially going to Tennessee. It's an awesome experience to be a volunteer there in Knoxville. And on top of that, the coaching staff during my career was incredible. I mean, the new staff that came in that's there now was just so helpful in my development, and they know what they're talking about, and all they want is for you to succeed. So I had a great experience being there, and I know a lot of guys coming out of there are going to be successful in not just baseball, but in life, because they teach you a lot of things that you do need in the real world. So I'm very thankful for my time at Tennessee.
Right. Now, quite a few guys came out of that school and were drafted by the Tigers as well, right?
Yeah, we had Ross Kivett, which is actually part of the staff now. Um, we to the Tigers. I mean, we had a couple other volunteers, but for the most part, are you talking about from my draft class or in general?
In general.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys got drafted out of that system that they were in. That's what I'm saying. They know what they're talking about, and from a development standpoint, any type of player that goes in there is going to be a better player coming out. So I think they do a really good job in developing people and getting them ready for the next level. And I think that they're a great staff to have there, and they deserve the credit that I'm given and all that.
For sure. Now, you also majored in nuclear engineering. Do you feel that those experiences have enhanced your ability in baseball in any way?
Yeah, engineering in general, and especially when you go into detail like nuclear or aerospace or any of those things, the main thing is problem solving. And in baseball, people don't realize as much as they should that there's a lot of problem solving, whether it's, when to tag up on fly balls, when you should stay off, reading different plays and all that stuff. So I think problem solving helps me with my baseball IQ, and I
Right.
see myself as a high baseball IQ guy. So in that aspect, yes. And then on top of it, when you have a problem within your swing or something like that, you thinking about your swing, you go through different steps. I mean, is it this? Is it that? If it's not, move on. If it is, okay, you found a solution. So it's that engineering background and math background, I think, helps me in terms of understanding that there's a problem, not freaking out, and then being able to find a solution.
Right. And I'm sure that also includes the mental side of the game too. You're pretty big on that as well, right?
Yeah, I'm very big on the mental side. I think that's uh, um, an aspect of the game that people don't recognize as much. They're starting to more now, but the mental side is huge. I mean, especially in pro ball, when you go over 4 one day, it's the ability to bounce back the next day and not go over 4 again, I guess. But that aspect of the mental game I worked on so much, and same thing. The coaching staff helped me there at Tennessee, and I'm learning more in pro ball. Is you just gotta figure out how to keep your head on straight, have a positive attitude, and keep doing what you're doing to be successful. So that mental side I think is very underappreciated, and I think that a lot of people could benefit from either having a mental coach or just understanding where they're at mentally to help them succeed.
Now, how have you challenged your mental ability to play the game? Are there any methods that you go through to really lock that in and get things fluid in your brain?
Yeah, for me, I'm big on consistency in terms of day in and day out having the same mental space, and then as well as workload. So for me, to keep my head on straight, it's doing the same thing every single day that I know has shown success for me in the past, whether I'm 0 for 20 or 20 for 20. So being able to get my head on straight is being consistent, because when you're in a routine and you're doing well, it's successful. So then when you get out of that routine, that's when things start to fall off a cliff. So for me, routines are really big. Another thing is visualization when you're in the on-deck circle or before. That's another concept that's coming along more. But, your brain's very strong in terms of you tell it to do something with your body will figure out a way to do that. What's visualized in your mind. So that, just for instance, you're hitting off a tee and you just tell your mind, don't think about your swing. Tell your mind, I want to hit a line drive to the back of the cage. Chances are your body's going to figure out a way to do it. Right. So that aspect for me has helped me a lot in terms of routines and visualization. There's a lot of other, aspects of the mental side that I go through, and whether it's just understanding where I'm at, understanding how my body's feeling, understanding all these different aspects that can go into swings, go into how you're playing. And so that's what I do, and I take a lot of pride in doing that because I think it's very important, especially for me. Not the most gifted, aesthetically pleasing baseball player, if you can understand what I'm saying there. But I think I have a lot of attributes that add to the game of baseball that I don't think enough people appreciate.
Right. I mean, the mental side is definitely an underrated part of this game, and I think more and more people are starting to recognize that now, and hopefully more and more younger athletes, as they get older, they really utilize it a lot more. And I also want to go back to talking about your time at Tennessee. You started out there as a first baseman, then moved to shortstop and third base. So what led to the switch in positions? And I'm sure with the experience at multiple positions, it'll make you more valuable as you go forward with your career.
Yeah, so when I showed up, I was, I don't want to say fat, but I was not in shape as I should have been. And there was a senior-led infield, super senior-led infield. We had a couple guys, Moberg, Rogers, and then Max Bartlett at short. So it was a senior-led infield on the whole infield besides first base. And I found a spot at first base, and I was willing to play anything just to get playing time. So that's one of the reasons why I played first. Maybe they wanted to play those older guys because they'd had experience, whatever it was. And then my sophomore year came in. I thought I was going to be, third base, maybe shortstop, but I hadn't played shortstop in a year and a half or so. And I showed up and I won the job at short. I did what I was supposed to do, and it was just hard work and consistency that got me that spot. And from there, we had a guy that fit better at short my junior year, so we put him at short, and I was able to, adapt and be able to play another position. So I think that's really important, being able to do what's asked of you based on the circumstances of the team. So if the team, needs a second baseman, like I played most of the time in low A, I can play second base. If you need me to play third, I'll play third base. If you need me to play short, I'll play short. So it's the ability to not let those things also affect your mental state, And my junior year, I was lucky I played every single game at third base. So I didn't have to do any mid-season switching, but at the same time, I have the confidence because I put in the work at all those other positions that I can play those positions well. So having that and that versatility, I think, is going to be important for me too. Not knowing exactly where I'm going to be or where I'm going to go. It's just whatever team I'm on. If they need that position, I'm there. If I beat out the other guy, I'll be there. So it's just wherever I can be and play. I don't really care what position I'm at as long as I'm playing.
Yeah, I was watching some video before of you making some great plays in the infield. Are there some drills or things that you work on in the off season to keep those skills up and really enhance your game in the field?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's putting in the work. So I do a lot of one-hand stuff because, I think one hand is very important, especially at third base when you don't have that much time to move. You got to just catch it. So that was one of our mottos at Tennessee, was just catch it. So we did a lot of one-hand stuff, a lot of, on your knee work, short bat, whatever it's called, short flip, hit it to you. And then a lot of stuff where you're just moving with your hands. And then on top of that, you got to understand, especially in infield, to get the right hop. Because if you find that right hop, chances are you'll catch it. So as a person with average to above average arm strength, if you just catch it most of the times, as long as you're accurate, they're out. So you just got to put yourself in good situations, in the situation where you have the most success to catch it, or the most chance of success to catch it. And then once you do that, you'll get the guy. But in terms of off-season work, it's just making sure you don't not pay attention to it. I mean, a lot of people focus on just hitting and lifting, and I think defense is an important role. I mean, hitting's not always going to be there, and if you're not hitting, you better be doing something, or you're not going to be playing. So, having that consistency and being able to know how to manage that workload of defense also, I think, is an important thing for off-season guys, and then people that are trying to get their work in even just during season.
Yeah. Now, in 2019, you played in Single A West Michigan. I'm sure it was a much different environment and transition for you when playing in pro ball your first year.
Yeah, I mean, West Michigan was awesome. I love the fans there, I love the atmosphere. So that league in general, it was so much fun to be able to play there. But I mean, it's very different. I mean, there's all, everything's a show, especially with minor league baseball and all that stuff. Colleges, you're trying to make it to Omaha. And then in pro ball, it's a little more individualized, which is, I think, can get skewed, because I think that the more you play as a team, the better, you guys will do. If the whole team's winning, chances are you're not doing bad. So I think that's a little bit lacked in terms of mindsets of a lot of people, but it's a lot more individualized. You play every single day, no matter what. So you might get a day off in a month, but I mean, in general, that aspect of playing every single day is very different from pro ball, because you got to understand your body more, your swing when you're getting tired, your mental state, all these driving on the road, all these different things that you don't really have to worry about in college. So that aspect, it was tough, but that's bringing back the mental side. I think keeping your mental during those different changes is a reason why people succeed and don't succeed their first year.
Right. Do you feel that the mindset of winning at the minor league level has been kind of taken away from the players, and more focused now on individual players, getting their inning limits in, and just focus on development? Because I've heard teams, they're in a playoff race, championship, the guys reach their innings limit, or the organization at the top wants something different, then they don't care that they're in the championship. They just want to focus on preserving those players for the big leagues, and then they're not ready for that type of mindset of, oh wow, now I'm gonna be playing to win instead of playing for my limit.
Yeah, I think it to an extent it has been taken away. I think if people focus more on winning, I think in general they would be more successful. So, instead of focusing on yourself and am I going to get moved up or am I going to get cut, if you go out there and try to win every day and just try to help your team, chances are you'll find some holes, and the game knows always. And I understand the inning limits and stuff like that, because you don't want your top guys getting injured, but at the same time, you should always be trying to win, because if you lose that, competitiveness of I'm trying to win, and instead it's now just I'm just going out there just to get my at bats, just to get my innings, you lose it. You're right, when you get to the big leagues, or if you get to the big leagues, because you don't have it anymore. So I think it's something that's overlooked, because they see all the they see your stats and then how many at bats. Okay, this guy doesn't have enough at bats, put him in there. But no one really looks at, hey guys, we're trying to win, So to an extent in the minor leagues, lower levels are a little bit different, because lower levels you're really trying to develop, and development is very key. So I understand it in that sense, but once you start getting out of those development stages, I think the focus on winning should come back, or at least be emphasized, by organizations or by teams. So to an extent, yes, but I understand why they have those things in place.
Now, last season was canceled, and this coming season will be pushed back. So, what have you been doing to stay in shape and continue development to the best of your ability?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's been a constant getting in the routine. And for me, it's the same thing every day. It's workout, hit, do all my, infield stuff, whatever, while I'm hitting, and get everything done so that I can keep a mental state. And then it's just kind of doing other things. So you find things to do, like, I don't know, golf, frisbee, tennis, things to just be outside and keep you, happy. For me, I love sports, so I do all that stuff. Um, and it's just keeping your body in shape and being able to understand that even though we don't have an exact date of when we'll be back, um, in your mind, you got to strive towards something to keep you going. Because it's really hard to, especially when the season got canceled, it was really hard. You're not training for anything. So it was kind of tough then, but, after that week of kind of, what am I doing? You get back on the horse and you get back on your weightlifting schedule. You get back in the gym hitting and all that stuff. So it's just been finding guys trying to surround myself with guys that want to put in that work so that I can improve myself too. Because when you have guys pushing you around you, it's a lot easier to get in that work. So.
Right. Now you're currently on the Tigers' top 30 prospect list. Have you focused much attention to the list, or, as an athlete, do you really not pay attention to it much?
For myself, no, because I believe higher of myself. But for some of the people I know, I have opinions about people on that list. And, so in that sense, I do, because I'm also, as a math guy, I'm a big statistics guy and all this stuff. So some of the reasonings behind prospect lists, I think, are off, based on, a lot of different things. But who knows? I could be wrong. But for myself, not as much, because it's really not important. If, at this point, let's say I was the 50th prospect and the 25th prospect was, above me. If I outwork him and I have a stronger mouth day, I believe I can make it to the big leagues before he can. So that's why this early in careers, I think prospect lists are useless. I think they're cool to look at, and they're, it's confidence booster at some point. But, overall, it's really not important. If it's important to you, then that's you. But I don't think it should be very important in terms of changing your workload. So I think that's why I don't really look at it in terms of, for me, because I'm going to do the same thing day in and day out, whether I'm number 1 or number 100. So for me, it doesn't really change it, but I like looking at it for opinions of other people, just because you like playing devil's advocate and all that stuff.
Right. Now, throughout your baseball journey, who have been some figures who have influenced your game along the way?
I mean, definitely the coaching staff. I think from a development standpoint, if you would have, asked me if I would have got drafted in the 3rd round, my freshman year, I would have told you there's no way I would have laughed at you. And then, once these guys came in and we started developing, we started talking about swings, understanding what I'm doing defensively, understanding strength training, all these different aspects. It made it way more real of a possibility once you put in that work. And when that work was put in, swing changed a little bit, started seeing a lot more success, started seeing all these different things. It was more real. So that, from that standpoint, they were very big. And then my family's always been there for me because they're big baseball people. So them always supporting my choices, and kind of tough for parents to say, no, don't do engineering, play baseball. So them being supportive was very, very crucial, I think, in me being able to follow my dream and being able to do this. So, with those two, you don't really need much more. I surrounded myself with a good group of friends too, so I guess that helps. But I mean, development-wise on the baseball field, I can't thank the coaching staff enough at Tennessee, and then my family has just been incredible.
Now, in a few sentences, how would you describe your game and yourself as a player?
I describe myself as a ball player. So I'm not, may not have all the tools, may not have everything, but I'll go out there and I'll compete and I'll do what I need to do to win, whether it's the at bat or the game. So, for me, I'm all about competing. I think that, I'm confident in how much work I put in, and the work that I put in is helpful to the point where I'm just in there and I'm in a game and I'm just ready to go. So I feel good. So for me, I think I'm just a ball player with a high IQ, and I know how the game works, and those little intangible things that I think a lot of people dismiss, I think I'm good at. So I think that's what can raise my game above some other people. But every day you work on those regular things. You work on your ball flight, all these different aspects, and I'm confident in my abilities. And you don't have to have all the tools to make it to the big leagues. There's a lot of guys in the big leagues that don't have all the tools, but they play 16 years in the big leagues because all they do is just go out there and play ball.
Mm-hmm. And the last question I want to ask you today is what advice you would give to younger prospects, whether in high school or college, who might be going through that process of recruitment or getting drafted?
Yeah, I would say self-belief and hard work, because a lot of people are going to tell you that you're not good enough, and you just need that one opportunity. I mean, for me to get into Tennessee, it was one tournament. That was it, and I got in. I didn't have all the offers, anything like that, like a lot of guys do. You just need that one opportunity for someone to believe in you. Someone believes in you somewhere. So keeping that self-belief and knowing that working hard as long as you're working smart. So understanding your workload, taking 50 good swings over 200 swings in the cage is better. So, understanding what hard work is over just overworking. And then just self-belief and keep staying strong mentally. I mean, baseball is a tough sport. So, the more positive you can be as a baseball player and as a person, I think you'll be successful in not just baseball, but in life.
Awesome stuff. Andre, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate having me.
All right. To all you guys watching, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time here on Pinckney's Prospects.